What if I told you Russia just tested a missile that flies 10 times faster than sound? That's more than 12,000 kilometers per hour. So fast that no defense system on Earth can stop it. It carried 6 warheads, each moving like a blazing meteor. And it just changed how the world sees war. The missile's name is Oreshnik. It's a new Russian weapon, and what it did on November 21, 2024, left the entire world in shock. That day in Dnipro, Ukraine, 6 fireballs dropped from the sky. They hit the ground with incredible speed and deadly precision. Cameras caught the moment. Fire, smoke, silence. Then the truth came out. This wasn't a normal missile strike. It was the first ever real combat test of a hypersonic missile with multiple warheads. A weapon so fast that no one saw it coming. And now, NATO is panicking. It wasn't done at a test range. It happened on a real battlefield. Russia fired it at a live target in Ukraine, not to destroy, but to send a message. When it hit, Putin smiled. Why did he smile? Because no one knew if Oreshnik carried nuclear or normal warheads. Until impact, no one could tell. That means NATO leaders had minutes, not hours, to react. And there's no way to defend against it. That's why the world is shocked. It was early morning on November 21, 2024, in Ukraine. The night was quiet. The air was still. Then in one moment, the sky changed. Bright objects started falling fast from the clouds. People looked up and saw 6 fireballs coming straight down. They were moving so fast that no one could react. The calm morning turned into chaos and fear. Something was very wrong. Each warhead came almost straight down from the sky. They were glowing red and white, burning as they fell. Witnesses froze, unable to believe what they were seeing. The sound came a few seconds later, a deep, heavy boom. The fireballs hit near the city of Dnipro. They landed close to Pivdenmash, a rocket factory from the old Soviet days. That factory once built space rockets. Now it was hit by a weapon of war. How's that for irony? This wasn't an accident. It wasn't a training launch. It was deliberate. A real combat strike. Russia had just fired a new kind of missile. Something no one had ever seen before. The world's peace was broken in seconds. The world saw fire falling from the sky. But the question everyone asked was simple. What was it? Because this weapon had a name and a history. The world soon learned the name of the weapon. It was called Oreshnik. In Russian, that means hazel tree. But there was nothing natural about this tree. Its roots came from secret missile tests, hidden for years inside Russian labs. The Oreshnik is a road-mobile missile. It was built from the old RS-26 Rubezh project, a design once meant for intercontinental range. Now, Russia had turned it into a new kind of IRBM. Fast, light, and deadly. This missile can fly faster than Mach 10. That's over 12,000 kilometers per hour. In 1 second, it moves almost 4 kilometers. Imagine something that fast, and then realize no defense can stop it. Each Oreshnik carries 6 warheads, and every warhead can split again into smaller submunitions. That means one launch can hit many targets at once. Like a handful of hazelnuts bursting in the sky, each one causes a separate impact point. No army on Earth can handle that. At those speeds, even a non-explosive warhead hits with the power of tons of TNT. It's pure speed, turned into force and fire. That's why the world felt both awe and fear. Even Putin couldn't hide his pride. He said, "It streaks like a meteorite and no missile defense can stop it." The weapon was born in secret, but on November 21st it was tested in public. And what the world saw next was unforgettable. The moment came fast. 6 warheads raced across the sky above Dnipro, Ukraine. Each one moved at Mach 10, 10 times faster than sound. No one had ever seen anything like it. People on the ground said it looked like suns falling. The sky turned orange and white. The sound hit seconds later, a deep thunder that shook the city. It felt like the air itself was breaking. This was the first real test of a multi-warhead hypersonic strike. All 6 warheads came down in a single volley. They hit one target complex almost at the same time. Even modern defense systems couldn't react that fast. How could they? Each warhead broke apart in the air, spreading smaller fragments over a wide area. It looked and sounded like a full combat payload. Every impact added more fire and shock. No radar or missile shield could stop that. Imagine trying to block 6 bullets fired at once. That's what Ukraine faced. No chance to defend. The missile's high arc path kept it far beyond reach. By the time anyone saw it, it was already too late. The world had just witnessed a new kind of strike. 6 warheads fell like meteors. But this wasn't a normal attack, because Russia just broke every rule of war. The world soon learned the truth. This wasn't just a missile strike. It was a test, done on a live battlefield. Russia had blurred the line between experiment and attack. The Oreshnik was launched from the Kapustin Yar range, about 800 kilometers away. It was a full-scale test, not a secret one. But instead of using an empty range, Russia used a real war zone. No country had ever done that before. Confusion spread fast. Was this a military operation or a scientific trial? No one could tell. It broke every rule of modern warfare, and that's why the world was shocked. Inside military rooms across Europe and the US, experts argued. They realized the missile's complex MIRV system had just been proven in combat. 6 warheads launched, guided, and hit in perfect timing. It was not about damage. It was about proof. Russia had shown the Oreshnik works under wartime pressure. They didn't need simulations. They used real enemies. To Putin, this was not destruction. It was demonstration. A way to tell the world we can test during war, and no one can stop us. Western analysts called it an expensive way to cause little damage. But that was the whole point. The goal wasn't ruin, it was fear. Russia broke the rules. But here's the twist. The warheads were empty, so why fire at all? After the smoke cleared, Ukraine shared the results. There were no deaths. There was no large-scale destruction. The warheads that hit were not real bombs. They were dummy payloads. Officials confirmed that the missile carried no explosives. The damage came only from the impact, the raw speed of the strike. Even without explosives, the shockwave caused fires that burned for 3 hours. That's how powerful kinetic force can be. Imagine something moving so fast that it destroys by motion alone. At first, people felt relief. Then came realization. Russia didn't fire to kill. They fired to terrify. This wasn't warfare, it was psychological warfare. A way to tell the world, we can strike when we want, and you can't stop us. US experts called the move expensive but effective, because even with dummy warheads, the message was clear. Russia had tested a real hypersonic missile under real war conditions with zero risk to itself. To Putin, this was a perfect test, success without chaos. He proved the Oreshnik works, and everyone saw it happen. The world was shaken. Russia had validated its new weapon without mass casualties. It was a show of power, not an act of mercy. Dummy warheads sent a message. But Putin wasn't finished, because next, he went on television and threatened the West. Just hours after the strike, Putin appeared on national television. He called it a successful test. His tone was calm, but his words were cold. This was not a report. It was a warning. Putin said the Oreshnik had proven Russia's new non-nuclear hypersonic power. He told the world that all 6 warheads hit their marks within seconds. Then he looked straight into the camera and said, "No defense system can stop it." The message was clear. NATO could be next. At the same time, the Russian Defense Ministry showed charred missile parts to reporters. They wanted everyone to see proof that a new weapon now existed. Across Europe and America, leaders watched in silence. What they saw wasn't just pride, it was intimidation. Then came Dmitry Medvedev with another threat. He said the Oreshnik could reach European capitals in minutes. And he added, "Bomb shelters will not save you." That single line sent shockwaves through the West. A former US official later said, Russia wasn't just testing a missile, they were testing the world's fear. This was open aggression, broadcast for everyone to see. Russia wasn't hiding anymore. They wanted the world to feel the threat. Putin had threatened the West, but why now? What triggered this revenge wrapped in fire? 2 days before the Oreshnik launch, Ukraine had attacked inside Russia. They used USATA, CMS, and British Storm Shadow missiles. Their strikes hit Russian airfields and military bases deep across the border. It was a bold move, and Moscow took it personally. When Putin watched the footage, his response came fast. He ordered a strike that would answer with fire. The Oreshnik launch was that answer, a message written in speed and flame. This was not a random attack. It was a planned retaliation. The Kremlin spokesman later said, the main message was an answer to the West's decision, meaning, you hit us, we hit back, harder. Moscow's goal was simple, They wanted to show they could match any Western move with one of their own. If the West gives Ukraine long-range weapons, Russia will use hypersonic ones. Putin downplayed the earlier Ukrainian hits. He said, "This is an answer for an answer's sake." It wasn't about numbers, it was about showing power. This was revenge, but it was also a warning, a reminder that Russia still holds the bigger stick. Russia had retaliated with fire, and the shockwaves reached NATO capitals instantly, because suddenly, everyone felt vulnerable. Right after the Oreshnik strike, NATO leaders rushed into meetings. No one expected a live hypersonic test in a real war. It wasn't just Ukraine under attack. It was every defense plan collapsing. What used to take minutes to detect now happened in seconds. The feeling across Europe was fear. The reaction inside NATO was urgency. Every country suddenly felt exposed. Even the most advanced defenses looked too slow. Ukraine's President Zelensky called Oreshnik a severe escalation. At first, Ukrainian radars thought it was an ICBM, a possible nuclear strike. For a few minutes, panic spread. People feared the worst. Western analysts later said it was a form of nuclear blackmail. Russia had proven it could send a message without firing a nuclear bomb, but still cause global alarm. The Pentagon confirmed it received a last-minute notice before the launch, but the message was vague. No one knew the payload type. A senior US official said, "This is the first time a weapon like this has ever been used." That's deeply concerning. And he was right, because with Oreshnik, there's no way to know if it carries nuclear or normal warheads until it hits. NATO commanders began recalculating defense timelines. Russian media even claimed Oreshnik could reach NATO headquarters in 17 minutes. The message was clear: no one is safe. NATO was shocked. But there's a deeper truth still hidden. Because Oreshnik's range brings back a forbidden era, the Oreshnik test didn't just prove a missile. It marked the return of a weapon the world once banned. For decades, intermediate range missiles, those between 500 and 5,500 kilometers, were forbidden under the INF Treaty. That treaty collapsed in 2019. And now, Russia has brought those missiles back. The message was clear. Arms control is dead, and a new arms race has begun. The world that once feared this range is now living with it again. Oreshnik's debut showed that Russia moved first. It already has a working hypersonic IRBM with multiple warheads. That means NATO must now adapt. New defenses, new spending, new fear. One NATO expert said it best: Oreshnik's use was a powerful message, showing how serious Russia is. The forbidden era returned. But what does this mean for humanity? Because now the world is staring at its own reflection. The world was silent after the Oreshnik test. No one cheered. No one laughed. Everyone just stared at the news. Because this wasn't just a Russian weapon. It was a mirror showing how fear has changed. The world now knows defense can't keep up with offense. For the first time, speed and firepower have outrun protection. That's why the world is shocked. Experts said Oreshnik's main goal wasn't destruction. It was psychological, to make the world feel small and helpless. One Russian expert, Maxim Starchak, said the main purpose was to frighten European people, and it worked. Russian state media played the footage for days. T-shirts with the word Oreshnik appeared. Some parents even named their babies after the missile. It became a symbol of fear and of power. The world finally realized something dark. Oreshnik isn't a battlefield game changer. It's a mind weapon, a tool built to control through fear. The world is staring at its reflection now and doesn't like what it sees. But what's the truth behind it all? Why did this single missile test shock everyone? Russia's Oreshnik test shocked the world because it was the first ever combat use of a hypersonic MIRV missile. A weapon so fast, Mach 10, and so complex, 6 warheads, that no defense can stop it. It wasn't just a strike. It was proof that Russia can hit any target anywhere with no warning and no interception. That's why the world is shocked. From a silent night in Ukraine to a global alarm, Russia's Oreshnik test proved hypersonic MIRVs are real, unstoppable, and aimed at anyone who challenges Moscow. You now know why the world is shocked. Mach 10 speed, 6 warheads, no interception, nuclear ambiguity, and Putin's direct threats. If this shocked you, subscribe for more on defense tech and global power shifts. Which part shocked you most? The speed, the warheads, the dummy payloads, or Putin's threat? Drop a comment below.